Okay, we are live, and today's topic is augmented analytics. And what we want to talk about is the augmented analytics reset, especially in the retail industry. And to do this, I'm joined today by Richard Clayton, who is the Vice President of Product Strategy, Oracle Analytics. Hi, Rich.
Hey Bernard, great to see you. How you doing?
Very good, very good. I'm looking forward to this. This is
Thank you.
I think retail is experiencing a massive transformation at the moment, huge uncertainty.
Yeah.
Data is becoming more important than ever. So this is a good
Yeah.
topic to talk about. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Bend, Oregon. It's lovely, beautiful, clear skies and crisp morning, about 0 Celsius. So yeah, it's a wonderful
Nice.
morning. Yeah, yeah.
And so what is it you normally do at Oracle? What does your job entail?
Yeah, I've been with Oracle for about 14 years, and I look after our go-to-market strategy for analytics broadly. Work with our customers, our partners, our sales teams to make sure that they get the most from what we develop. And I think it's a wonderful job. I love what I do because analytics is, part science and part psychology.
Mhm.
You can have great technology and have bad outcomes, and you can have no technology and have great outcomes. So I tend to think we make great solutions, but it's the follow through in the coaching with customers about how to apply it. And so that's a big part of my job is helping our customers around the world apply what we develop. So it's super fun.
Very good. So you've been talking with many retailers, and I understand you believe that an augmented analytics reset is needed. So maybe we can start with the first principles. What is augmented analytics?
Well, it is October, right? And some people love Halloween's my second favorite holiday. So augmented analytics isn't really a Frankenstein kind of thing. It sounds scary and maybe a little strange. This augmented sounds painful in some cases, but in plain English, it's really about putting advanced technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning into the analytic workstream, from how we connect to data, how we combine it, how we consume and share it, so that we can do our jobs better. And so we can predict things without depending on data science, data scientists. No deference to data scientists, but as you know, we're still in a shortfall in terms of those skills globally. So augmented analytics is really a pretty cool topic because, like a store manager, just as an example, when they arrive at a store, their cell phone can wake up and know that they're at the store and tell them what's happening at the store without them asking. For more centralized analysts, maybe in merchandising or other groups, they could find patterns that were hiding in the data that they didn't know exist, or use voice to say, what are the 3 things I need to study today based on anomalies or exceptions hidden in the data. So it's really about helping people do their jobs better. It's not this massive thing, but it's a very practical application of advanced data science in the context of, business analysts, context of store managers or merchants, people that don't do data for a living, but have to depend on data for decisions. So augmented analytics, it's been around for a couple of years, but honestly, I'd say there's still a lot more to do in the topic. And it's very exciting in terms of just being able to use these tools to find these patterns.
Yeah, I don't actually particularly like the name, I think, because
Me either.
I don't think it says what it means or what it is, because we've talked about self-service analytics for many, many years, and then we talked about that we could democratize analytics, and for me, what we're now talking about is that actually we can give everyone the ability to analyze data without necessarily needing the data science skills to do
Right.
it, using AI and machine learning and all the beautiful technology that we have to basically give people the data they need and the insights they need, right?
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, I think one of the things I think that augmented analytics can help is reducing bias. Oftentimes analysis is find facts to support a hypothesis, which is bias, human bias. And when we bring more AI into that light, it allows for more inductive type of reasoning and thinking, where the data can do more of the talking and the decision maker can do more of the learning.
Mm.
And so I find that very powerful. A great friend of mine used to be the CIO for state of California. She said, be brave, let the data do the talking,
Mm.
Catherine. And I think that's true. I think that if we can get more predictive type of insights into more people, that democratization will be better.
Mm.
And I'm quite optimistic about its potential. In the early days when we start talking about this, it's like, oh well, we're taking away the intuition of decision makers and eliminating jobs, and none of that's happened. There's still human intuition that's going to be improved by better data. So,
Absolutely, and
yeah,
there's always the human interpretation of the data that then leads to decisions, and we're not
exactly.
automating decision making, or at
What to
least
do
not in
with it?
all cases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it just to build on it real quickly. I mean, the we can't, as far as I know, teach moral reasoning to computers.
Mm.
And so that just that cognitive decision has to also factor in the moral responsibility of a decision, and that's purely a human piece. But anyhow, yeah,
Very good.
we could do a
Just
whole thing on ethics of AI, but
absolutely, that's a topic for another day. Um, anyone joining in today, let us know what you think. Also, let us know where you're joining us from, because this makes it super exciting for us to see. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them in. So when you say analytics reset, Rich, that we need an analytics reset, what do you mean by that?
I think lots of retailers today are sort of mired in technical debt in data platforms, and honestly, lack of knowledge about what the art of the possible is today. So, um, the retailers that I see that are using cloud for their analytics, I think, are further ahead in a reset. And what I mean by a reset, and the reason that resets are even done to begin with, is when uncertainty is high. And and we all know, uncertainty is super high on so many dimensions, on supply chain, on consumer demand, on buying. Like, all these things are contributing to uncertainty for our retailers. And so an analytic reset's got to happen. Why? Because it's got to readjust and realign to the new priorities of the company, given the changes that are happening. So, if we talk about a reset, first we do is we reflect on where we are from an analytic process point of view, from a data platform point of view. We look at these things through the lens of the new priorities. Maybe it's expansion, maybe it's consolidation, maybe it's lower inventory. And so likely we've got to make our processes more agile. Likely we need to reset how we curate, combine, and manage data. And we need to reset how we think about AI, and how it can be applied. And so once we reflect on these things, then we can start to restore and focus our short-term plans, and finally sort of recast our long-term plans based on that. So I think it's so easy to just kind of keep going, forward incrementally. And what was important 18 months ago may not be important today.
Mm.
And so I think the retailers that I'm working with now are taking this as a slow down to speed up kind of approach, which is a whole bunch of things have changed, lots of uncertainty, new technology. All of these things are factors, if you will, in a reset. So.
Very good. And obviously, with the global pandemic, there's so much uncertainty in retail at the moment. What do you see as the key drivers behind this need to reset analytics?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about here. It's a combination of factors like changing buying behavior. What's a critical category today is not a critical category tomorrow. I live part time in Germany. We had plenty of toilet paper, but no noodles. It's like, what? How could we have toilet paper, and then I come back to the U.S. and there's no toilet paper and plenty of noodles, right? And Nielsen did some interesting work about how consumer behavior is changing, and one of the things that they talk about is how evolution and changes in public health policy are changing the psychology of people. As data becomes more aware and consumers, they creates fear as cases or some metric that they're tracking increases, which in turn changes what they buy. I think the other factor on this uncertainty and the reason for a reset is much of the data that our machine learning algorithms have been using in the past might be dead, might not be useful going forward because of these erratic purchasing last calendar year. So if we were to try to predict demand for chocolate this year compared to last year, it probably wouldn't be very helpful because the consumption pattern last year was pretty different than all prior years before that. So I think it's a combination of factors, external factors, data factors, new technology that's getting traction like natural language and machine learning and things like that. All of these things contribute to a need to reset the analytic plans within retail as I see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think the data we had in the past is less valuable. The algorithms potentially are less valuable. More real-time decision making is needed. So how should retailers think about resetting their analytics strategy?
Yeah, I'm on the data topic, just to close off on your comment there, it's is there a data deficit, and has this data deficit sort of neutralized mid-sized retailers compared to the large ones? Perhaps it's something I think retailers have to factor, because big data is now small. I think I've seen you write some things about that. I think that's a phenomenon. So in terms of how to reset and some thinking about it, I think there's sort of three key imperatives right now: speed, scale, and scope. And speed is the time it takes to uncover insights and the time it takes to respond and act. And right now, a lot of the analytic systems within our retailers are quite slow. So in terms of reset, you got to think about how things like cloud could help in the production of insights. Scope, and that is, I don't mean function, but I mean putting more and more data to use, bringing multi-channel sources together to improve the experience, being able to connect supply chain with consumer demand. Having scope, I think, is important. And finally, scale. and I don't mean like bits and bytes, but scaling through how many applications and how many use cases can we scale through a single platform, and how do we scale insights into process?
Hmm.
Okay. People don't want to go to analytic dashboards anymore. It's just not, they don't have time for it. And so being able to put it inside a merchandising application, inside portals, inside collaboration tools like chatbots and Slack and things like that, and embedding insights into these applications, really, I think will have a pretty good effect. Now, all of those things have to be connected to three key priorities I see in retail anyways. Number one, how do we create a connected customer experience? And this is the probably the number one challenge today because of buying behavior changing between online and offline. Two, how do we improve our supply chains? Not just the forward supply chain, but also the reverse supply chain on returns. And finally, how do we create a sustainable profit model? Okay, where pricing, promotions can be connected. If inflation continues, what do we do? Do we pass that on to the consumer, and if so, how much? And I think augmented analytics can help retailers make some of those tough decisions to determine what to do, and how best to maintain loyalty while at the same time preserving profit. Those two things kind of sometimes are at odds with one another. And I think that deeper insights through AI can help improve some of those challenges.
Absolutely. I was just looking through the stream, and we've got people from all over the world. We've got people from Kenya and Iran and Germany and Ecuador and the UK and the US. So it's lovely to see
Cool.
everyone on. Barbara was just asking, she is asking, what do you mean by big data is now small?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Do you want to answer that, or you want my thoughts? I'd love. Yeah.
Happy to start with your thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I think big data is small in that sometimes we create these massive data lakes, and in some cases, the big insights can come from small data. Small data being feedback from customer surveys, or small data coming from returns, comments on returns, or why people are returning products. Doesn't have to be these monolithic, terabytes of data. In some cases, some wonderful consumer insights come from the smallest sources. That was mine. Yeah.
No, exactly. This is what we're seeing. That I think that lots of people realize analytics can be derived from much smaller sizes of data than they thought. And also we can now train machine learning algorithms with much smaller data. And we have many opportunities to potentially build bigger data sets using synthetic data, using other forms of data to build up bigger sets that we can actually use for machine learning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I do find that being, one of the main reasons that retailers say, well, we're not ready for that. We don't have, sufficient data. And my advice always, similar to what you just said, is you have to start. Even if you have small amounts of data, see what the science can tell you about that small amount of data. There's, of course, implications and issues with that about training data bias. And so, a governance community can ensure that large scale, pricing decisions don't create, unintended consequences on that training data, but applying it and evolving it, I think, is most important.
So what would you say are some of the key obstacles in the data and analytics space?
I mean, it's we're just talking about, it's these legacy platforms. To me, these silos just continue to grow, and that's a collaboration and cross-functional demand to change, because without a holistic approach, basically your brands risk margin erosion, discounting, and unloading inventory at the end of season. And so I think the other obstacle I see is that data science skills continue to be a challenge in building. And so that's where technology can maybe help offset that. But it's a very real problem. Don't want to underestimate the importance of that. But I'd say silos of data, legacy platforms that are, on premise, have been developed 20 years ago, and modernizing the skills, maybe not just data science skills, but all the analytical skills. I teach at University of Oregon here in the United States, and have been working with higher ed for about 10 years now. And over the last 10 years, we've gone from 20 higher ed programs to a little over 200 focused on analytics, either graduate degree or undergraduate. And there's still a shortage, period. I think I've heard one firm call it translators, translating the business requirements to how to model data, being a pretty important piece. So I think to this work from home reality has created an interesting opportunity for professional development. And there's so many wonderful online courses today for analytics that there's no excuse now, really. I think, if you look at the likes of P&G and other analytic leaders in the industry, they have it as part of their talent development program, right? And I think that if you're going to advance in business, no matter retail or not, you need to be data savvy. But anyhow.
Absolutely. No, and it's interesting. I spent a few hours today working on my new book that will be on future skills, and and today's chapter was on data literacy, which I feel is one of the 25 most important skills people will need. And I was talking about how important it is for people to understand how to use data, how to understand some of the limitations of data and analytics, but then in combination with augmented analytics, they will be able to really use all of the data we have. And as you rightly say, a key obstacle that I definitely see across all my customers and organizations I talk to is legacy systems that need to be updated, that need to be connected to cloud systems, data silos, not connecting internal and external data sources to really bring analytics to life.
I love that data literacy topic, Bernard. I think with the higher education institutional challenges, that it doesn't fit a pedagogy, right? It doesn't fit within a business, and that's what makes it both interesting and in demand. So I'm happy that you're promoting the importance of that. It is an important skill, very important skill.
Hugely important, yeah. So with COVID, we have a lot of uncertainty. We have lots of uncertainty generally across the retail sector. What are some of the innovative AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning use cases that you see emerging?
It spans every business function within retail, from consumer marketing trying to resolve identity. So now we have no cookies. So how do we connect and improve? And AI certainly can help resolve some of that challenge. I think AI can be applied to rationalizing brands and categories and assortments. I've been working with a grocery retailer here in the U.S. About last summer, and their topic was around workforce health and safety, and using AI to predict which job functions and stores had the highest risk, so that they could get ahead of the hiring crunch. Right? We, as I think, is a global issue on labor and getting people back to work.
Mm.
This particular retailer, I think, was 9 months ahead of others in understanding that their older, more at-risk employees um, may not become sick or ill, but may decide to retire early, given all these things. And so they built predictive models to predict those things and started to get ahead of hiring. And it's particularly challenging in sort of second tier cities around the United States. Including cities like Bend, where 100,000 residents, and major talent crunch, right? In terms of retailers getting people. So workforce safety, health and safety was being applied. I've seen a lot of retailers today mitigate the cost of returns by identifying which returns we should accept in the first place, to lower the cost, and improve the experience for the customer.
Mm.
I've been doing research about this circular economy and the waste that we have. One of the downsides of the pandemic in terms of the overall retail industry, as you know, is consumers are ordering a lot more online. 10 years and 3 months, as what I heard. 10 years of e-commerce growth in 3 months. But the returns are like 4 or 5 times higher than the returns in store. And so if you're going to just accept all these returns, you're probably going to lose money. So AI can help predict which items are going to be most likely to return, and make recommendations about what to do with some of those volatile items. So those are just a few examples. I mean, I've read much of what you've written on this. I think you have a lot more wonderful examples on this topic. But I would say, sometimes we look for these like shoot for the moon kinds of applications of AI, and that's why I bring up this employee health and safety thing. It may not be like this, wow, oh, that's really cool, but it has a profound effect on the customer experience, because if the stores can't be stocked because that particular store had an older workforce, you're not achieving the mission that you had in the first place. So I think there's many different wonderful places. I come back to, sorting out how do you reset these priorities based on some of this uncertainty and some of these new priorities that retailers have right now.
Yeah, completely agree. And for me, I think it has to start with your key business challenges. And if you start there and try to tackle those using AI and analytics, that's a very good starting point.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and so do you have any good examples? Maybe you can share
Yeah.
with us a few stories of those who are thriving with analytics, and maybe some of their stories that
Yeah.
have inspired you and your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to see how our technology can be applied to a lot of different cases. Within the pharmacy retail segment, we've worked with a customer in the Middle East who created a new business model using AI to correlate the customer engagement and marketing campaigns. They were able to lower their churn and improve loyalty. They basically used AI to add contextual data. This customer is called Al Nadi, to better understand the behavior of how the customers purchase, so they can better serve them. In the supply chain space, we worked with a customer in Eastern Europe called Osten. They're a apparel retailer, a vertically integrated apparel retailer. And in their case, they wanted to combine a whole different set of data streams from online, offline, to better understand and better place assortment in their stores. So they used our data science solutions from our retail unit to better forecast demand. They used machine learning to automate some of the assortments. And they've basically been able to fine tune their replenishment, optimize their inventory, and most importantly, reduce safety stock and reduce waste at the end of the season. Fashion contributes to 20%, 10% of greenhouse gases in the world. And, creating that sustainable supply chain so that they don't have this massive waste at the end of the season is quite powerful. Now, as it relates to profit, Stitch Fix, as some of you know, has been an online retailer for quite a few years. They used our analytics to sustainably grow and expand across the globe. So, as they looked at introducing into new countries, the complexity of currency, for example, is quite challenging. And they used our analytics tools to lower the entry time into new countries. And they found that by using this real-time analytics system, they could reduce their entry into new markets by about 66%. One of the other customers that we've been working with, actually also in Europe, is a company called Pianoforte. They've got wonderful brands like Capriza and Cuvera and a variety of others. And they wanted to understand the viability of their franchise stores, looking at profit goals, looking at consumer demand. And they use natural language processing to empower the business analysts who weren't very technical to use voice to ask. We use voice to to find the local pizza place or find the local pub, but we don't use voice to ask questions about our business. So in Pianoforte's case, they actually optimized their stock levels. They determined the best location for new stores. They evaluated their promotional effectiveness. I think they have 1,300 stores across Europe. All with one analytic platform, no silos, and very little IT support because it was in the cloud. So I think these are just a couple of the examples I think that I've been inspired by personally. I actually talked to the Pianoforte customer last week and shared a little bit more of their story, and we'll share more of that as time goes forward. But I think they have a great vision, being a fashion retailer, about how to become more sustainable. And part of that is having the data from their suppliers about the products that they're producing, so that consumers can build more confidence, right, in how these products are sourced, and ultimately create better loyalty with the retail.
Yeah, no, they're great examples, and I guess to really make analytics work, they have to derive some real value from all of this, right? Where do
Yeah.
you see retailers drive value from from analytics?
I mean, it all has to do with insights about anticipating consumer demand. In Pianoforte's case, they consolidated some of their brands. They divested some of their stores, and so I think the value is in the application of data across those three business cases: the connected customer, optimizing supply chain, and driving profit. So it's hard to quantify the business value of a decision, but it's also easy to see when you've missed it, right? When you have building inventories, rising commodity costs, and essentially low same-store sales. So I think the value comes from not just cost savings, but I think it comes in revenue growth and customer satisfaction. Those are some of the areas I've seen.
Very good. So you talked about a number of customers. You work for Oracle. What do you have to offer to help retailers with their analytics reset and hopefully recover stronger than before?
Yeah, thank you. So I think Oracle essentially offers three different areas. We offer a whole suite of data science and analytic applications that are purpose-built just for retail. They help in things like assortment planning, space optimization, inventory, promotion, markdown, loss prevention, all of the classic analytic cases. We also offer, and it's relatively new, I guess, in the last 5 years anyway, is a retail science platform. This is based on a open data lake architecture. This is pretty cool because I've worked with some of our largest retailers here in the United States. It provides clustering to evaluate sales, affinity analysis to understand buying patterns and shopping cart kinds of things, decision trees for things like consumer segmentation, and even profile science for predicting sales, purchasing behavior, right down to the product attribute level. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The final thing I would just say is it's the area that I probably spend most of my time on, is this augmented analytics cloud platform that embeds machine learning into that workflow. So those are sort of the three key pillars to our analytics strategy within retail. And ironically, the first acquisition that Oracle made nearly 30 years ago was a retail operation. So we're no strangers to the retail space.
So is there an easy way to explain how machine learning is applied to give you augmented analytics? Do you have any examples of what this looks like in the background, without going into too much detail, but giving people a sense for how this might work?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. Here's a simple example. We listen to podcasts while we walk or while we exercise, and they're generally about our interests. But augmented analytics, by using natural language processing, we kind of think about it as natural language in and out. So an example could be just tell me about same-store sales in the Northwest. Okay. And it wouldn't just give me some, cute little dashboards or cards on my phone, but it actually would generate a podcast that I could listen to while I do my walk. Okay. So I think that's a simple example. Another example might be making recommendations about, so I'm analyzing, let's say, consumer purchasing by segment, and AI or this augmented capability could make recommendations about, would you like to bring in their online purchasing behavior? Would you like to connect it to what these consumers are talking about socially, or product reviews that they've written? And this would be done for a marketing analyst, not someone that writes Python code. Okay. Right. And so we're trying to connect these sources in context of a decision. Marketing person might be looking at a new promotion, or might be looking at how they're going to spend their advertising dollars, and weren't aware that these other data sources exist within the company. And so augmented analytics can make those things transparent and accessible, that may not have known before. I think personally that store operations is probably one of the areas that could face the greatest benefit from augmented analytics. Store managers are at the front line. They've got to make decisions right now about what to do today. So they could simply talk to their phone and say, tell me what are the 3 things I need to do today to grow sales. And the system could translate that and say, well, here are the categories that aren't doing well. Here are the categories that are doing well. This part of the store needs improvement. Inventory in this place is behind what your patterns are. So that's it. I mean, don't expect, frontline store managers to be, data scientists. Don't expect them to be, wanting to dive into data. They've got to run the store. So I personally think that is a wide open space to applying embedded machine learning to improve the operations, the flow of the store. it's a space that could use a reset, I guess, is coming back to our topic earlier.
Very good. And yeah, we've already talked about so many innovative examples and use cases. And I guess for most retailers, just the thought of using machine learning, augmented analytics is still far from where they are today.
Yeah.
However, as a futurist, I have to ask you about what you see around the corner. What technologies are you excited about? Any trends that
Yeah.
you are excited about and looking forward to in this space?
Yeah, I tell you personally, I am super excited about natural language. It's shocking to me that we still use SQL. SQL could be behind the scene. That's fine. But smarter platforms have to route, ship, and optimize the question based on the location, format, complexity of the data. It may or may not be SQL. So we as consumers use our voice to do what we do, but we don't do that in our work. And so I find that natural language is something that's in our platform today, and there's just not broad scale acceptance of that. We have lots of ideas about how to take that to the next step. The podcasting that I was sharing with you is something that's in our technology today, this voice out concept that I was just talking about. But so I think natural language to me seems to be something that's underutilized and has a tremendous potential going forward.
Yeah, same. I agree. For me, the two areas of AI and machine learning that I'm particularly excited about is natural language processing and machine vision. I think they're making massive progress at the moment.
Yeah, I on the machine vision piece, I actually saw a demonstration of an early concept at a conference a couple of years ago, looking at trying to anticipate consumers' emotions as they approach the shelf, and it posed more questions than answers for me. Did I give you permission? And but privacy and sort of perhaps ethical concerns. I think by and large, I think there's huge potential in that topic. And I think smarter, calmer minds will prevail about how not to use that data, and rather how to use it responsibly. But I think there's pretty interesting potential for that as well.
Very true. And I think when it comes to retail, the other area that I find really exciting is once you start linking analytics, AI with extended reality. You were talking about the fact that the returns are so high because we're now buying clothes online and you can't try them on easily. And I think this is where extended reality will have a really big impact very soon. That we can virtually try things on and make sure when we order something that they will fit us.
Yeah, you look at the Atlantic just wrote an article about the cost of returns, and it's staggering. And obviously, clothing and soft goods are the highest categories where that happens. And I think this is one of these things where that type of technology can contribute to a more sustainable retail operation, and improve cost, lower cost, right? Improve profit and lower cost, because I get fewer returns, I have less coming back, fewer people to deal with that, less in the landfill, and consumers get what they want the first time. So I think that kind of technology could have tremendous potential all around. Excited to see how that evolves, and haven't thought through about what kind of data could come out of that. Could we correlate, for example, that virtual try-on experience with lower returns, and in what categories and in what cases and things like that. it's not just about that. It's about, improving the loyalty and experience for the customer, but there is a financial implication of that as well. I think that technology has great potential.
I completely agree. We could go on forever. This is such an exciting
Yeah.
area to talk about. I'm sure we will find another session to do this. I would really like to thank you for your time today. Lots of amazing insights, great examples. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Rich.
It's great to see you.
And
Thank
anyone
you.
who wants to ever re-listen to these conversations, you can head to my YouTube channel where you can re-listen to this conversation, but many hundred other conversations that you will hopefully find interesting too. So as always, let us know what you think about the session, add your comments, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.
Take care, Bernard. Thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.